Hello and welcome, you big, beautiful Madridistas. Welcome to the Managing Madrid Podcast. We are now live on YouTube from the ETIHAD. In a second, Lucas and Leah are going to join me, Kiyan Sobhani, to break down a very, 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 very fun win at ETIHAD. But first, shout out to the GOAT, CR7. If you go to moji-mates.com, our friends over on Moji Mates have a special discount code for Cristiano Ronaldo's birthday week. So go to moji-mates.com and you can get a 20% discount. I would suggest going with a Jude Bellingham shirt tonight, personally, because he scored the game winner. But you can go with him or Dani Ceballos, who had a great assist, or Kylian Mbappe, who had the greatest shin goal of all time. It's your pick. So you guys take your pick. Go to moji-mates.com. Use code CR7 upon checkout for 20% off. Also, a shout out to TAFC Academy, who are presenting sponsors of ours, and they do so much work to help us, and they do so much work in Toronto. If you want to sign up your kids for swimming camps, soccer camps, basketball camps, March breaks, summer camps, all of that, go to tacsports.ca, and they will see you in there. And yeah, lots to talk about. Very excited. Let's do it.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Welcome to the Managing Madrid Podcast. Sorry, guys, I'm having technical difficulties. I had to go with my headset, and my mic is not working, so I've abandoned it. Lucas, welcome to the show. Leah, welcome to the show. Lucas, we'll start with you, man, because you're probably going to go to bed soon. You're in Spain. Tell me how you feel. What's your first impression after watching that game?
I'll just go with, since, the Manchester City fans decided to quote Oasis for their tifo against Vinicius in support of Rodri, I'll quote another Oasis song, and I'll say, Pep, don't look back in anger.
I mean, they set themselves up for a lot of karma in this game with the banners, all the stuff they were saying. What an experience. Luke, I want to start here. Lucas, I cannot for the life of me believe that you're bored of this matchup.
No.
This matchup never disappoints. Every single game is a movie. I had deja vu because I was sitting at the press row, and last second game winner, City fans just start trickling out after talking shit all game in record time. And here we are. Real Madrid go to the Bernabeu with a 3-2 result. And there was a lot of pessimism at halftime because Real Madrid missed a lot of chances, and they're going down a goal heading into the break. They played well, to be quite honest with you. I thought they played well. The XG, I mean, a lot of the chatter after the game, whether it was Ceballos or Vinicius or Rodrigo or Courtois, everyone felt that Real Madrid were the better team. The XG backs it up. It was 3 point something compared to City's 1 point something. We had 20 shots. We outshot them heavily. We missed a lot of chances. So I thought we played well, and I'm glad the result actually reflected that, so that we don't have to come and sit here and focus on the result rather than the performance. But I think we can focus on both. It's not over yet, and we know anything can happen, obviously. And Lucas will be at the Bernabeu for multiple heart attacks probably in the second leg. But we're here. Leah, first thoughts. What do you got?
Karma. For starters, because as we know, and as they typically do, there's a lot of this, always a lot of this. I think we actually started the game really strong. I think we lost a little bit of the momentum after the goal. For the caliber of players that we have, the lack of finishing was disappointing. We should have won that game by like 6 goals, realistically. But given the result, given the, final minutes game winner, again, Vinny assist, a Jude Bellingham goal, the two players that they hate the most. Cinema. After the tifo, after the chit chat, after everything, I couldn't have asked for it to finish in a better way. And no yellow cards. So win-win.
So I have several talking points we can go through, and I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on all of these. We have about 30 minutes before I get kicked out, and we're going to try to be as concise as possible. Obviously, we're recording this later than usual. This is about like an hour after the game ended because I just got out of the press conferences. I did ask Ancelotti a question about Camavinga. We can cross that bridge when we get there. Start with the backline, Lucas. It kind of picked itself. And I have to say, if Real Madrid plays defensively the way they did today for the rest of the season, I'd be pretty content. I think that's a big ask because now whoever's left has to play nonstop, basically, because there's no one to give them rest. So it's a big task for like Fede to play right back and Asencio and Tchouameni and Mendy to just play every single second. But I wanted to highlight two players in the back line in particular. I thought Fede Valverde was very good. And I was speaking to Alex Kirkland before the game. I saw him in just at the press row, and he was asking me about like what do I think about the back line. I was like, you know what? I really can't say this publicly, but now I'm going to say it. I feel bad in saying it. But like this, Vasquez getting injured was really the only way he was not going to play. And I don't wish injury upon anyone. I think Carlo had to realize that Vasquez was a liability before the injury even happened. But this was the only way Vasquez probably was not going to play this game. And I thought Fede was great. I thought individually he defended, Grealish I barely played because he got injured. But individually, one-on-one defending, he had a couple really good on, defensive challenges on Kevin De Bruyne on that side as well. And he was good. And Raul Asencio, man, continues to be awesome. Just challenge after challenge, not backing down from Erling Haaland, looks fantastic. The other two, I think Tchouameni was okay. He could have done better on a couple occasions. Mendy, I thought, poor on the ball, should have scored. Might be unfair to ask him to score in that situation because he's a left back, but certainly I think Leah, you would have scored that for sure. That was a near post finish.
Yeah.
So but the two that stood out from the back line for me were Fede and Asencio. And I just think that even when Vasquez comes back, I think you shouldn't, start Vasquez.
What's going on?
I'm the last one here. Start Vasquez over, against Valladolid and Leganés or whoever, but don't start him in the second leg. Don't start him, against Leverkusen, Atletico, Liverpool, Barca. That's my take.
I agree. I thought Mendy was possibly the worst of the entire back line. I don't think it's unfair to expect anyone to score that chance, in particular if you are playing for Real Madrid. So I wasn't a fan of that. Wasn't a fan of his contribution on the ball even. So I don't like the fact that he started over Fran Garcia. I thought Fran Garcia could have, contributed maybe a little bit better and a little bit more than Mendy did in this game. But overall, I don't think you can complain much about the performance overall from the entire team, because at the end of the day, two pretty silly mistakes led to Manchester City's goals, and you also created a lot of chances yourselves. And obviously, the result is very good as well. So there's nothing for me to really complain and get in a bad mood about after such a game.
Leah.
Same. I think that Asencio should be an undisputed starter going forward. There's no reason why he shouldn't start alongside Rudiger once he's back. If anything, if he continues this form, like he's young, he's injury-free, knock on wood. I think that Militao could have a real run for his money once he comes back from injury, especially after his two injuries. I just see like the reincarnation of Ramos on every level. We need a leader like that in the back line, and I think Rudiger has that. But what Varane and Ramos didn't have was Varane didn't have that leadership in the back line, and two of the same kind of like leaders back there, I think is really good, especially when you have someone like Ferland Mendy on the left. Mendy, yeah, like you said, unfortunate that goal wasn't scored. To be fair to him, I don't think he was expecting Vinny to pass. He was probably expecting a shot from Vinny there, but I mean, if you're going to make a run and get in the position, then be ready for the ball. I think Fede was solid. Fede's solid everywhere. Fede could do anything. So you put Fede as goalposts and he would not let anything in. You know what I mean? So that's not surprising. I think Tchouaméni deserves his flowers at center back. I think he was a lot better than what he's been, especially in that position. I think he held it down. You have to remember also he's defending Holland. He's defending Holland. Grealish is tricky on the left before he got injured. Foden, Bernardo Silva, same thing. Kevin De Bruyne through the middle. Even Gvardiol having the type of player Gvardiol is and making the runs that he does, I think that he did a really good job despite the pressure. I have things to say about both City goals. Poor mistakes, but also the first goal, in my opinion, was offside. And the second goal, debatably, if it was in the box, it's a 50-50. Seen it given, seen it not given. But I think it was pretty soft. So all things considered, I think, yeah, it's a great result to go back to the Bernabeu. I think that overall we performed well. Our midfield got a little eaten at times. And there was a lot of like wide stretched wing play, which I think with the front three wasn't at sometimes clicked and it sometimes didn't. But we got there in the end, so that's what matters.
I mean, on Tchouaméni, he had a couple really, really important aerial challenges. And I think that's one thing that you need. You know, I think between him and Asencio, that pairing really works better than probably like if Alaba was on the field against Erling Haaland. Because you had bodies to throw, like any time like John Stones would crash the box. One thing that gave us a lot of problems was Gvardiol. Gvardiol would just make these runs out of nowhere.
That was planned, yeah.
And just completely they would have numerical superiority out of nowhere. That's essentially what happened on the goal we conceded in the first half. Like, Asencio there's very little he can do there. All of a sudden, Gvardiol is crashing, and he has two players to mark. I don't think it was offside, Leah. I mean, the image that I saw anyway seemed like they had drawn the lines and they used the semi-automatic offside thing or whatever. And on the penalty, it was in the box. I mean, it's basically like it's even possible for the foul to start outside the box and end inside the box, and it can still be called a penalty. So I have no issue. The one I actually took real issue with was like later in the game, Bellingham gets just hacked.
Yeah, Bernardo, yeah.
I was like, how is that not a foul? That's the one that actually irked me the most. But I think we should talk about the midfield. And Leah, you kind of mentioned the midfield a little bit. I will play a clip of my question to Carlo about Camavinga. If this works, fingers crossed, I'm just going to screen share from my Twitter. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
Performance in midfield today and his role as the 6. What do you think he needs to improve on to really get to the next level in that position?
I think it was the first game tonight. He played well. Where he can improve, he has to improve. He has to have a better position on the pitch when we have the ball. Choose the right situation to pass the ball. But the game tonight was outstanding, really good. Him and Ceballos in the task did really well.
You're on mute now.
So the reason I asked about Camavinga was that the Camavinga experience, I think you can just see the potential. You can see the greatness in the boots somewhere, but I think there's a consistent package he hasn't put together yet consistently. And one of the things I think he still needs to work on after all this time still is like when to decelerate and when to accelerate, when to play the pass vertically, when to play it safe. Like he had two really bad passes in the that put our players in really bad positions. One was to Jude, and I think the other one was to Ceballos and City break. And just before that, he played this amazing like line-breaking diagonal switch to Vinny, which broke City. And you don't really know what version you're going to get come up. And I think what Carlo, if I interpreted his answer correctly, like his positioning and some of his decision and his passing. But he also did a lot of good things on the field. And Carlo mentioned Ceballos. I thought Ceballos was great. Penalty conceded or not, looked really great under pressure, as did Jude. They were very composed escaping pressure today and getting the ball forward. The pass that Ceballos had to Mbappe was awesome because he just recognized that City were stepping up on the free kick and he could just play the pass over top. He wasted no time. I thought Mbappe missed. I was so annoyed. But then I saw the ball go in the net, and then the replay was hilarious because he really, really, really tried.
He missed. He actually missed.
It was one of the ugliest goals I've ever seen upon replay. But I'm not complaining; it went in. But he should have scored a couple tonight. If our finishing is better, this is a bigger margin scoreline. I just hope it doesn't come back to bite us.
It shouldn't. I don't think it should. Real Madrid now should take advantage of the opportunity to counterattack and basically do what they did best today, even, which is unleash Vinicius, Mbappe, and Rodrigo whenever Manchester City turn the ball over. So I think the context for the return leg is basically perfect now. If Real Madrid managed to keep it this way for the first 20 or 30 minutes, Manchester City will have to take more chances later on. So I result for everything that happened tonight and all things considered, and also because I think it's a very favorable context for Real Madrid against this version of Manchester City. I think they will have to be very careful in that return leg not to concede.
You make a good point too, because we're going back, we're home, we're up. Manchester City are going to have to take their chances, which means that they're going to be more vulnerable. And they're going to have a lot more spaces opened up for our counterattacks. They don't have a choice really to go to the Bernabeu and defend a lead, like they might have, or even a draw and then get like a last ditch goal. A few things I want to see. If Lucas is back, I think that's probably a guaranteed start for him, unfortunately. Which means that Fede probably moves back to midfield. Camavinga goes back to the bench. I think Camavinga had moments of brilliance today. I also think it was the same thing that we said about Jacobo in the last game. Like, is it not his first start back? Like, he's been in and off the bench the last couple of games, but this is his first start. It's a knockout game against Manchester City. Like, the odds aren't really set up in his favor to come back after injury and perform. So despite that, I do think that he was rusty, but showed his capabilities. I do think he's fabulous at a double pivot, and I would love to see that kind of setup. But we know that might not happen. The one thing though that I do hope to see in the return leg is substitutions before the 81st minute, maybe, because we were down and then we were tied before Ancelotti made his first substitution, which was right after the penalty, and that was Ceballos for Modric in the 81st minute. And so with Arda, for example, again, hasn't been consistent, a little bit rusty, but the technique that he delivers when we're struggling in midfield, and to be able to even create any kind of goal scoring opportunity against tired legs would have been probably a good substitution. Endrick with his box crashing target man kind of play, same thing. So inexperienced players, would we have seen that? Maybe not. But he had 5 substitutions to make and ended up making 3 by the end. But Brahim is Brahim. Brahim as a substitute is a recipe for success. But other than that, yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
I possibly fixed my mic halfway through. Do I sound better right now?
Yeah, you sound better now.
Oh, I wish this was the case in the beginning. But I think, Leo, because I had the same thoughts with the subs, and I was definitely surprised Modric didn't come in earlier, given the way this game was and who the opponent was. I'm not surprised that Ancelotti didn't replace any of the attackers until the 83rd minute when he brought on Brahim, because I think he really, and rightfully so in this game, I mean, to an extent, like, this was working in his eyes. Like, we didn't talk about the attack much, but I thought Rodrigo was great. Vinny grew into the game. I think, some of the stuff he did in tight spaces on the wing and set up teammates in the box was really good. I mean, whether it was Rico Lewis or Akanji, he gave them hell. And I think, the attack did pretty much everything right, in my opinion, apart from put the ball in the back of the net. And we still scored 3 goals. So I could see why Carlo just wanted to ride it out. I thought Rodrigo was really good too. And so things were going well in attack, apart from the goal scoring stuff. And then Brahim comes in and capitalizes with a great run. He's in the right place at the right time. I think it was Kovacic who maybe fell asleep tracking him, but I can't say for sure. So Modric was the one, though, I was expecting to see a little bit earlier. But hey, it wasn't so bad. And I think, this is a really weird thing to say, but I think this has happened like last year too. At some point, there's just so many people injured that the lineup just picks itself, and it just kind of naturally shifts to like the best players available. And I think that's kind of what happened tonight. This is my take.
Yeah, for the lineup, sure. Apart from maybe Fran and Mendy, I do think that Modric should have been brought in a little bit earlier than he did. It's true that the team was playing well in that particular stretch before conceding and making that penalty. But you could see that Bellingham, for example, was completely out of fuel. And it's funny because he obviously scored the game-winning goal after a crazy run in the very last minute of the game. But there was a particular stretch around the 75th minute that he was completely out of gas, and the team possibly needed an extra midfielder in that particular instance. So I was fine with the substitutions chosen by Ancelotti, other than obviously the time frame and the moment he used, and he decided to use them.
All right, let's go through a few super chats. Tragic TV says City dissed Vinny only to get salsa danced on Karma. He won, so he won the player of the match thing. I don't know if you guys saw, but like everyone at press row was laughing because from our view it looked like he was holding the Ballon d'Or because the award looks like a ball, and so we were all laughing like it's hilarious. Now he's just holding, and all the City fans are just walking out. By the way, shout out to the traveling Madridistas. They did a great job at the ETIHAD today. Last year, I don't know, that the atmosphere, like 2 years ago when we lost 4-0, I think was like peak City atmosphere at the Etihad. Last year wasn't as good. It was just Real Madrid fans basically singing the whole time. And this year was, it didn't seem like I imagine, Lucas, when you go to the second leg at the Bernabeu, it'll be way better than what I experienced at the Etihad tonight. All right, next super chat is from JD Foster, who says Camavinga and Miguel as left backs next season? ? Sell Fran / Mendy.
Sell Mendy.
Sell Mendy. It's true that Miguel and Fran might be overlapping a little bit too much in terms of their profile as players to have them both in the squad next year. Also lacking experience at the highest level in terms of starting in these kinds of games. But yeah, I think selling Mendy should be an option.
It's a unanimous decision, I would say.
Who's gonna purchase Mendy?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Saudi.
Nishlish Patel says Mendy is basically a pitch invader who is allowed to be there. Ooh, that's got to be the biggest Mendy insult I've read so far. That stings if you're Mendy reading that. Listen, I think we played a really good game. I think we did well under pressure, apart from a couple moments, and they were usually kind of targeted with Camavinga and Mendy. I think our press still needs some work. Shocking. I mean, the goal we conceded, the first one was off of a pressing sequence where City just kind of tore us apart. There were other instances in the first half where we were defending in a 4-4-2 and Mbappe and Vinny were just floating up there, and then one pass between them and City would get free. But I also thought like our defense was more compact than I expect. Like I was pleasantly surprised. Like the way our midfield functioned, defending narrow and kind of moving as a unit in midfield, like those midfielders like Camavinga, Ceballos, and Jude, they would work well to close the passing lanes. I thought it was a good defensive performance. Offense was great apart from finishing, and we still scored 3 goals. I'm pretty happy with the performance tonight. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the season if this is some kind of turning point for us where we gain momentum. But the reason I'm continually skeptical about that aspect of it, even if we play well, is because, again, like how many players are left to actually play football in the defensive line at this point, you know? And that's the part that worries me.
Imagine Asencio wasn't it. Like, imagine Asencio was, no offense, Jacobo Ramon. Like, imagine he didn't just show up and be the best. Oh, but imagine where we would be defensively if he, like, wasn't what he is.
Yeah. Sagnik says, please speak on Raul. I know you did, but more? Question mark, question mark, question mark, heart emoji.
He was great. His character, his personality in this game won't, it won't stop surprising me really, because it's just amazing seeing a player who only has like 10 appearances for the club under his belt or so, going to the ETIHAD, playing against Haaland and doing so with that kind of personality, that kind of character. He's not afraid of him. He's not afraid of the moment. He's basically trying to approach and engage physical contact against Haaland. So it surprises me a lot to see this kind of character from an academy player who should be definitely greener than he is in terms of experience. So definitely great performance. It's a bit of a pity that on the first goal I do have my complaints, maybe a little bit more than you guys do. I don't think he was brilliant in that particular action. I think maybe he shouldn't have committed that far and should have maybe kept his position a little bit more. But obviously no complaints, and we would not be here without him, definitely without his contributions earlier in the season, and definitely also with his performance today. I mean, if he wasn't on the field today, Manchester City would have had definitely a more comfortable game.
What do you see happening when... Sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you see happening when Rudiger's back? Do you think it goes back to Rudiger Tchouameni, or do you think...
I think so. I think he'll go back to bench.
Probably. But I did want to say one more thing on Asencio. There's a fight to him that's hard to like measure. You just see it. Like when he goes into a challenge, he just sends a message. He just goes through the player, but gets it clean. Like it's clean challenge. But he does it with force. Like it's like all of his challenges are monstrous. Like flying. He had one flying slide tackle on De Bruyne in the first half, which was amazing. But just his fights and his step ups, the way he times those, he just sends messages with each challenge, and I like that about him. Like you just feel his presence. He's not passive at all. He's a very proactive player, and also again good under pressure.
I think it's a destroyer.
Yeah.
Oh, they're kicking Kiyan out, I think.
No, I think they're talking about to someone else. I thought for a second they were kicking me out, but there's no one else here. So, all right. So Michael Fuego says, typical Real remontada, that eyebrow raises, then boom, Fede and Raul clutch at the back.
Amen. Nothing to add.
Period.
I felt the energy. No. Like it was always there. Like I even at halftime, I felt like we could turn it around. Courtois talked about this after the game too, that when we were down, because we were playing so well, we believed we could just turn it around. Flip side, it's weird to see City in such psychological peril. Guardiola, I don't know, like Lucas, you know this probably better than anyone. Guardiola is very short with the Spanish press. So like I didn't ask him a question tonight. I feel like I kind of regret that now, but he's when the English questions come in, he gives very lengthy, thoughtful responses. As soon as the Spanish media's turn, he just doesn't even look at them. He looks away. He was like this when he was at Barca too, right? With the Spanish media, he doesn't like them. And so every question that would come in, he would just kind of look away, give a sarcastic smile, and give a one-word answer. Anyways, the reason I brought this up was because you could just feel like he's just going through it, man. He's going through it. Yeah. Remember, there was memes where he was like scratching himself. Like, there's this team is in trouble. Honestly, if we lose to this team in the second leg, inexcusable. I will never forgive everybody. Everybody's in trouble. Like, all right. Ashik Bees says pylons are more useful in defense than Mendy and Schumann. We're still talking about Mendy. Okay, he's dead. He's already dead. Simpsons meme.
I don't know what else we was good today.
Tchouaméni was serviceable. Yeah, I won't complain about Tchouaméni today.
Ashik also says Asencio is quintessential Real Madrid boy. Can I adopt him as a son? LOL. Love the commitment and no fear from the boy. I think we all agree. Juan Sanchez says, how many more turning points do we need, though? We've had many moments that could have been, but didn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. As soon as Real Madrid start gaining momentum, a disappointing performance comes. Hopefully this is not the case this weekend, for instance, and definitely not next week against Manchester City, because, it seems, I do agree that when Real Madrid start completing 2 or 3 good games in a row, all of a sudden they drop the ball and back to square one. So yeah, hopefully this is not the case anymore.
What I will say though is this is like our time of year. Like, we have some turning points. Our turning points typically are in the first half of the year, but now is when we turn up for the rest of the year. So we still have like a pretty rough schedule. We have City, and then we probably have Barca again in the Copa del Rey. But I don't know. I feel like hopefully, as long as we don't get hit with any more injuries, knock on wood, this should be it.
I thought this was our best performance of the season. I don't know what you guys think. Given the opponent and what was at stake. Like, I understand this is not peak Manchester City, but like literally after was the game before this Espanyol? Was that the last game?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. After the Espanyol game, I remember saying there hasn't been a single game where I came away impressed. Like, oh wow, we had a great game from 1 to 90. Like, that hasn't happened. This was the first time I think I left the game with really like actual good feelings. Like, it was a good tactical performance and there was friendship. The friendship vibes were there. It was good. I liked it. And we can talk about like, City's a joke or whatever. Look, sometimes you just need to get something favorable in the draw. Maybe you needed to play a walking wounded City to give yourself confidence and take it into the next round. Who knows? Ideally, you just avoid the playoffs altogether because you weren't asked for the majority of the season. So, as Pep and Carlo said before the game, like it's our fault that we're in this position. But I thought this was our best performance of the season, to be honest with you. Yeah, without really even thinking too much about it. But I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong about that.
Given the context and the stakes, yeah, and probably our best performance against City in years. They aren't necessarily as strong. As they have been.
It's correct. I think Leah, I think we've had phases against City throughout the years that were very good. Like, the first half against City at the Bernabeu last year, the first 20 minutes at the ETIHAD last year, the last 15 minutes in 2022 when we just came out of nowhere and extra time was very good. But I think from like start to finish, this was probably our best one against them.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I just wanted to say before I get kicked out, the media buffet was bang on tonight. They had it was Chinese theme. It was actually Chinese theme last year too. They had
Chinese New Year, I guess.
Oh, that's what is that what it is? Maybe. So they had fried rice, they had wontons and egg rolls. They had, I don't eat meat, so they had these like amazing vegan sweet and sour quote unquote pork, and it was quite good. They had a candy buffet. And this is a very short trip for me. I don't have time to buy for the kids, so I just loaded up like bags of candy for the kids, like pretending like I went out of my way to buy them something as a present, so they'll be happy.
Wait, did
coffee.
anything happen to you last year with your egg rolls and your like thing from the buffet? Didn't you get stopped, or you saw someone or something and your mouth was full of Chinese food?
Gareth Bale. That was like,
Yeah.
no, it was like my lowest moment. I was like, jet lagged and was like hungry, and I was just like loading up. I had this huge plate, and I turned around, like this giant Gareth Bale was like walking past. I was like, shit, man, that was a networking opportunity. And then, yeah, but it was good spread at the ETIHAD. That's something they do well here. Do you guys have any concluding thoughts before we wrap it up here?
Not for me. Just looking forward to the return. Like hopefully taking care of business. Don't like take it seriously. Take care of business there, because it's not job's not finished. So yeah.
Job's not finished. Stop crying your heart out.
Yeah.
Period.
Lucas, enjoy the second leg. Leah, thanks for hopping on. Appreciate it. Everybody, thanks for bearing with us with the late start. And yeah, enjoy the content. We got a lot more coming your way. And thanks again. Peace out, guys. Take care.
Whoa.